Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Konich-Yeehaw podcast. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Jared.
And on today's episode, we're actually going to go off the side a little bit and talk about Godzilla Minus One, the movie. The Godzilla Minus One movie came out at the beginning of December. We got to see a little, we went to a little early access fan screening in IMAX, which was a lot of fun.
It was, yeah.
A lot of fun.
I'm really glad I saw it in theaters.
Yes, and it was a lot of fun because something I noticed right away is everybody there was so into Godzilla. Everybody there was wearing a Godzilla shirt. And it was a good crowd.
Yeah, it was.
It was a really good crowd.
You didn't go to the Shin Kamen Rider or Shin Ultraman showings, but it was similar in that there were people there that were really into it, but it was better for Godzilla.
Right.
There was more people, bigger theater.
Yeah.
But more people that were just really into it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yes, we just want to talk about the movie and kind of Godzilla. I'm not going to say through history because that's way too in depth, but go into compare some things of previous Godzilla movies and how this stacks up to this brand new entry.
I do want to start out and just say that this is an excellent movie.
This is very good.
This is a fantastic Godzilla movie and just movie in general. It's probably my favorite movie that's come out this year.
It's an excellent movie.
And I think that every Godzilla fan should see it, and just a lot of people, even if you're not Godzilla fans, you should also see it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people will think it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. With that being said, we are going to go into the plot of this movie. So if you do want to see this and be surprised, which I highly recommend,
I agree.
Maybe don't listen to this episode, sadly.
Yeah,
but,
go watch the movie.
Go watch the movie and come back.
This.
Yes. But we are going to go into the plot of the movie. So
AMC is extending their showings to December 14th.
Oh, so that's awesome. So to just jump right into it, our main character is a man named Koichi, and Koichi is a kamikaze pilot. So this takes place during, or I guess the end of World War II.
I think it states at the beginning that it's a few days before World War II ends.
A few days before the end. So this is, you think of it as a period piece, I guess. So a few days before the war ends, we are introduced to our kamikaze pilot, main character, Koichi, and he is getting cold feet about his
mission.
And so he fakes a maintenance problem and decides to land on an island that has the maintenance team that works with kamikaze pilots. Of course, he lands and the mechanics know right away, he's getting cold feet. But they still house him for the night, and but they'll work it out in the morning. This is where we first see Godzilla. Right away, he emerges at night, and he just smashes. Right,
and he's small.
And he's
okay.
he's relatively small.
He's big but small for Godzilla.
Yes, he can still step on people.
He's smaller than the original Godzilla, which was 50 feet.
Meters.
Sorry, 50 meters.
50 meters, yeah. So he's kind of small, but he is still he wanders onto land, and the mechanics are the legend, the legend or the myth of Godzilla is present within with the locals. So that's how we first hear the name, right? They devise this plan where they ask Koichi to go to his plane, because his plane has guns on it, and fire at Godzilla. First of all, dumb idea.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to work.
Well, the idea is that that type of gun is supposed to be able to go through anything.
Yeah. It's stronger than obviously rifles. So they ask him to go to they sneak over to his plane, and he, once again, he knows it's not going to work. or he's scared. You can just say he's scared, but
Yeah.
it's not going to work. So he chickens out again. Obviously, all the mechanics are like, "What are you doing?" And everybody but one person.
Yeah, everybody except for the main mechanic.
Yeah, everybody but the main mechanic dies. So it's a pretty, horrific incident. The main mechanic blames Koichi for not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're essentially just all discharged. Well, the war ends. I mean,
yes.
It's literally a couple of days before the war ends. So everybody gets discharged. And Koichi goes home.
Yeah.
Now, his home destroyed.
And family.
And bombed. Like, bombed to smithereens.
Yeah.
Gone. Everything is rubble. His neighbor is still alive, and she is
mad.
bitter. I mean, she's really
Yes.
mad. She's really bitter.
She blames him for her child dying
Yes.
because, she knew that he was a kamikaze pilot, and so she's like, "You didn't do your job. Why are you here?"
Right, and I mean, this movie does get into a lot of the politics of the kamikaze pilot, and who they were during the war, because obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but suicide missions are frowned upon.
Yeah.
Not that they don't exist anymore, but they are frowned upon. And, but you have to imagine, back then he didn't fulfill his military duty.
Yeah.
Right. So he gets to come home alive, even though he went to war.
Yeah.
And civilians are dead. He goes to his home and his parents are dead. His neighbor's child is dead. Like, it's horrific. It really is. So he's carrying a lot of guilt. That's definitely a main theme in the movie is survivor's guilt, because he literally went to war and he lived, and he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, and he also lived from the island.
Yes, he also survived
event.
Godzilla. So it's horrific. But in this destroyed hometown, we meet our next two characters, which are Noriko and Akiko. Akiko is a baby who is orphaned. Basically, someone was just like, "Please take my baby."
Yeah.
And Noriko didn't know how to say no. Like, literally, that's it. She was just like, I don't even know how to say no. So, Noriko, or our main character, Koichi, kind of helps out Noriko in this, she's getting chased because she stole some food kind of situation, right? That's how they come together, and they start living together.
Yeah.
And it's like super just, all right, now I'm friends with a woman with a baby who also isn't hers, and we're just all trying to like figure it out, like post-war. And then we kind of entered this a post-war montage.
Of rebuilding.
Part of this rebuilding, though, is that Koichi does get a job. So his job is to clean up sea mines. So he takes it because it is a really risky job that nobody wants to do, but his career in the military was already very risky. So
and it pays a lot.
And it pays a lot because it is really risky. So he's making bank, but it is through like dredging up sea mines and shooting at them. So there's risk. So we have like things are working out all right. And then somewhere in the ocean, in the Bikini Atoll, a bomb goes off. A bomb is detonated. And that is how Godzilla gets bigger. This is symbolic because the original Godzilla movie opens with a atomic attack on a fishing boat, right? Which is a reference to the Lucky Dragon number 5 incident, which was when a stray Japanese fishing boat was exposed and got in. It was radiated.
Right?
Because it entered a U.S. H-bombing testing range in the Bikini Atoll. So it's all symbolic, right? It's all symbolic of the things that happened in World War II. So Godzilla gets bigger. He's bigger, so he's going to start going after stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he goes after a warship or a battleship, completely destroys it. They send our main character on his little itty bitty boat with his friends to just go check it out, go check it out. And of course, our main character, upon seeing Godzilla, first of all, war flashbacks. Knows that they're in over their heads and that they need backup like immediately. So they have this really cool like Jaws fight, which
it's really cool.
I think is like really cool. Where they like have Godzilla chase him in the water and they're trying to drop bombs into his mouth, and it's really cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
One thing, because they've never really done Godzilla in the water.
Right, which is where he's from. So
they kind of do in King of the Monsters, in like the American movie, but they never really do like, this Jaws style fight.
Right.
Which is, well, one thing that is because like so many Godzilla movies are suit actors, so you can't really like do that. But even in the American movies, like I'm surprised there's not more water.
No, it's definitely American movies are more based in like, I don't want to say cities, but like, I mean the ground. Yeah. On land. So they have this like really cool water battle where they do buy enough time for another battleship to come.
And in this battle, they learn that Godzilla can regenerate.
Regenerate. Yes, that's important. Because they'll shoot at him, or
they blew up his mouth with one of the mines they recovered.
And he just kind of like submerged and healed up and everything. So the other battleship, the backup, comes and Godzilla just like tears that apart too, and our little boat retreats. So, Godzilla has been exposed. The government knows that there's something out there. And while they're all trying to figure out what to do about it, Godzilla keeps doing his thing. He keeps destroying. So the next spot that Godzilla goes to is this city. And this is the city where Noriko works, because she got a job in the city. Now, Koichi has told Noriko about Godzilla, or like revealed. I guess he didn't reveal this right away, but revealed what happened on the island. And of course, she it's not that she thinks that he's a liar, but it's unbelievable, right? Yeah. It's unbelievable. And then Godzilla shows up in the city where she's working, and she like knows. She's like, oh, that's what he's talking about. And she's on the train, and we do get the train scene.
It's iconic in Godzilla history. It's happened multiple times where Godzilla has a train in his mouth.
Has a train in his mouth. Yep. And she's in the train car that he has in his mouth. So it's pretty crazy. And in this, Koichi hears about this attack on the radio, drives his little motorbike out there to try and find her and save her.
I have no idea how he gets there in time.
It doesn't make sense, but we're not going to worry about it.
I don't know the geography of Japan.
Yeah.
So maybe they're really close.
Yeah, I mean, she's on the train, so
yeah.
I don't know how close, but he tries to save her. Sadly, she gets caught up in the atomic breath.
Yes, which this atomic breath, like, I don't know if it shows it in the trailer. I know that it shows the charging in the trailer,
yeah.
And it is so cool.
So cool.
It actually, I really like it, because a lot of Godzilla movies, basically every Godzilla movie after like the first one, basically was like, here's a beam of energy, while the first one and this Godzilla movie is like, here is a beam and then an explosion.
Right.
So it is breathtaking.
It's really cool. And it also, just for note, hurts him. It's so hot that his cheeks will melt a little bit and he has to like regenerate them.
Yeah.
Which is a cool little touch.
It is really cool.
Yeah. So, but okay, mass destruction, right? You get the idea, mass destruction. And now Noriko is dead.
Yeah.
So Koichi is left with this baby and all of this survivor's guilt, because they do talk about, him and Noriko do talk about why are they still alive, essentially, because Noriko's parents are dead too, because of the war. And she was like, I was always taught that I am alive for a reason. Like, we don't always, we don't know our universal whatever path in the universe, but we are alive for a reason. And she tries to, like, in a comforting way, be like, you're alive for a reason. Like, you didn't complete your mission for a reason. And even if it was due to cowardice, you need to still, like, live your life to the fullest because you're alive for a reason.
Yeah. Also, there's, like, a plot going on between them right now.
Oh, yeah, there's romantic tension.
Yeah, there's romantic tension because they obviously both want to be married. They want to be together, but Koichi is like, no, I don't want to. Because
he's sad.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is all to say that now that Noriko is dead, he really does not know why he's alive. Like, he is feeling the survivor guilt. So this then leads to the ex-military meeting, which is, as it sounds, a group of ex-military men.
Private citizens.
Though, but people who were in the Navy and the Air Force, whatever. They meet and they say, we need to do something now, and the government is taking too long. So we need to, figure it out. Now, we just call him the doctor.
Yeah.
But the doctor is one of Koichi's friends and co-workers on the mine boat. The doctor, who, as you can maybe tell, is very smart. He was a scientist during the war. He develops this plan to sink Godzilla with Freon. So the idea is not to drown him. It's to sink him so fast that the pressure in the ocean crushes him. Because, I mean, obviously Godzilla is a water monster, so.
Yeah.
And then the plan B is that if that doesn't work, then to inflate him to where he rises back up again. Same thing, just increasing the pressure to he will hopefully collapse. That's the plan. Koichi is, of course, like, I'm not a boat guy, so can I fly? And they're like, sure, we'll find a plane for you, even though they're all decommissioned. Yeah. We'll figure it out. He gets to reconcile with the lone surviving mechanic again, because he wants him to fix up his plane, right? He gets to reconcile with him. And from what I can understand, I mean, the mechanic forgives him.
Yeah.
Because he gives Koichi an eject button, which obviously Kamakazi pilots didn't have eject buttons. So he gives Koichi a chance to live during his mission, which is like a really big deal. And also it's a secret. So, but kind of a poorly kept secret, in my opinion. Because Koichi is ready to fulfill the mission that he had years ago. Like, that's his mindset right now. But we get our big epic battle with Godzilla in the Freon, and
it kind of works.
But
then he starts regenerating.
Which is why we did the super sink and then the super float, and then Koichi flies his plane, Kamakazi,
full of explosives,
Kamakazi style, into Godzilla's mouth, but ejects himself.
Yeah.
So he's fine.
And then blows up Godzilla.
And then he's dead.
Yeah.
Unless.
Yeah, it was very stupid. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah. So, but that's the movie. That is essentially the movie.
There is a very big key point at the end, and that is
Noriko's alive.
Noriko is alive.
Noriko is somehow alive. So Koichi, they're sailing everybody back to the shore because they had to go pick Koichi up from the ocean somewhere. And somebody runs up to him, telegram, Noriko's alive, and he goes to the hospital, and she is all bandaged and whatever.
Yeah.
And she looks at him and says, what is it? Have you finished your war? Have you?
Is your war over?
Is your war over? That's right. And it's very tearful.
Yes.
And he's like, yes, it's
a wonderful
finally
ending.
It's finally over, right?
And then they ruin it by being like, well, actually, Godzilla is regenerating. And
which, once again, I'm going to get to that at the end.
Yes.
Because I have something to say about that.
Yes.
So, this movie, very good.
Is excellent.
Excellent movie.
It is a World War II war drama that happens to have Godzilla.
Yes, as it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla as he is meant to be. I have strong feelings about that. But speaking of, how he is in some places, let's do a little bit of comparison, right?
Yeah.
So, compared to the original Godzilla movie, which, what year did that come out?
1954.
1954?
Yes.
Are you sure?
100%.
I thought it was after that.
You do not have to look it up. I know it I know for sure.
Really? I have to look it up. I'm sorry. You're right. That's crazy. Okay. So the original in 1954. It had a lot of homage to it.
Oh, 100%. So
absolutely.
So there are a couple of modern Godzillas. So there's the American Monsterverse Godzilla, and then there's the Reiwa era Godzillas that have come out from Japan. So Shin Godzilla, Godzilla SP, was that what it was? The anime?
Singularity Point?
Yeah. Godzilla Singularity Point, and then the Godzilla movies, Netflix movies.
Yeah.
While Shin Godzilla was an homage, a love letter to Godzilla, Godzilla Minus One is truly a modern retelling.
It is absolutely, especially since it takes place during the same time that the original Godzilla was filmed in.
Yes.
It is just, it's pretty faithful. I mean,
it is. It really is.
Yes, it's pretty faithful. I mean, obviously, no politics about the pilots in the first one because it's all water based. Naval based, but still, big emphasis on use of like atomic weaponry.
Yeah, both are definitely tell the story of like, I mean,
of war.
Atom bombs are bad.
Atom bombs are bad. Yes.
Like this is the repercussions of it.
Yes.
And I want to point out that what I think is probably the biggest difference between the two is that while both have Godzilla as a like sheer destruction with intent, which I do want to point out, Godzilla Minus One Godzilla is like he's destroying.
Oh, yeah.
He is very violent.
Yes.
Like it is like he has a grudge and is like has intent to destroy.
Right.
Which isn't seen very much in like it's anger.
Yes.
It is like just pure anger.
Yes.
Which is very much like the first Godzilla.
Right.
But not like many others. But oh my god, I lost my train of thought. So like the first Godzilla ended on a bad note. There was no happy ending to the first Godzilla. The first Godzilla ends with Dr. Serizawa killing himself or like sacrificing himself.
Yes.
So that
there will be more atom. Well, essentially atom.
Yeah. No more weapons of mass destruction.
Right. Because he has the knowledge for it, and he's like, I'm gonna die with my knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah. But the paleontologist at the very end, he's like, there are still atom bombs out there.
Yeah.
There are still more Godzillas that can be made.
Right.
So it's not a happy ending.
No, other than the fact that Godzilla was defeated.
Yes.
It's very bittersweet.
While the ending of Minus One was
very
like,
happy.
yes, it's very happy. It's like we're together, we have hope. You know,
Right.
the human hope prevails.
Right.
And so that's an interest, because that's how most movies in general end with a happy note.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the main differences between the two.
Mm-hmm.
While they're very similar tonally, the endings are tonally different.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then moving on to Shin Godzilla.
Yes.
Now, it's so story-wise very different. It's modern. It's much more modern. I really enjoyed Shin Godzilla because I like seeing all the different phases. It's like, it's like watching fast forward evolution, right? And I thought that was really cool. And it's like done really well too.
Oh yeah.
But I will say that the person plot.
Yes.
Right? The person plot in a Godzilla movie. The person plot in Minus One is definitely much better.
Yes. So Shin Godzilla is all about politics, like politicians.
Yeah.
And so if you're not like too familiar with like Japanese politics, which it is kind of universal because for the most part, politicians don't from an American perspective, I can't say for all countries. From an American perspective, politicians or the government doesn't really handle natural disasters very well.
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Yeah.
And the whole point of Shin Godzilla is that Shin Godzilla is not a creature that has intent to kill. It's just more like a natural disaster.
Right. It's just kind of, it's walking around, but it's like bumping into shit. Like a lot of
it doesn't, it's not like, it doesn't really have much thought to it. It just simply destroys.
Right.
Kind of like a tornado.
Right, yeah.
And so Shin Godzilla is really interesting. I really like Shin Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, it's a love letter to Tokusatsu.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh my God, what is the director's name? He also did Evangelion. Hideki Anno.
Yeah.
He did all of the Shin series. So Shin Godzilla, Shin Kamen Rider, Shin Ultraman.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of these series is to be a love letter towards the original.
Right.
And so it's so unique and not like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Not like any other Godzilla. And so that's another movie that I'm like, you should watch it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then finally, we have to talk about the American adaptation.
Monsterverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever. There's a bunch of different ones. So, but more recently, the Monsterverse. So, American Godzilla versus Japanese Godzilla. Very different. They're pretty different creatures.
Well, yeah, substantially.
Yes, they're substantially different creatures. In my opinion, they do look different.
Yeah.
And they continue, and it seems like they are continuing to make Godzilla much more different looking than he originally was. We did just see the trailer for, what's it called?
Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire.
The New Empire, which is coming out sometime next year. Yeah. That trailer just dropped, and we got a good kick out of it because it looks really silly.
It looks so silly. It looks like a buddy cop movie.
Yes, it does, because since Godzilla versus Kong, they kind of teamed up.
Yes.
They've essentially teamed up because they had to team up to defeat Mechagodzilla, and then they had like this mutual respect nod thing, right? So, Godzilla, what do you have to say about Godzilla in America?
So, it started strong. Actually, no, that's not entirely true. Godzilla 2014. So that was the first of the Monsterverse Godzilla. It was not a great movie, but it kind of tried to be like the original, kind of, in the like there's a lot of human plot and you only see Godzilla for a little bit. It didn't work very well, and the reason that it didn't work very well is because they still had other monsters. They had the Mutos, which were awful Godzilla monsters anyway. And so they started off with this idea of like Godzilla fights for humanity. And
Which is wrong.
Yeah.
Which is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are plenty of Godzilla movies where Godzilla's on the side of humanity, especially in the Showa era. And then they went to King of the Monsters, which I think is the best Monsterverse Godzilla movie.
It's because there's so many
Actually,
monsters.
no, not even Godzilla. Best Monsterverse movie. That includes
Right.
King Kong. Skull Island.
Yeah.
Best Monsterverse movie because they were like, we don't care that much about the human plot.
Well, let's just show some really cool monsters.
Yeah, let's show some really cool monsters, do some really cool fights, which for an American audience is all that you want. Like that's what you want out of a Godzilla movie because
right?
the human plot's not that good anyway, and so like might as well get some cool action out of it. And then they started humanizing Godzilla.
Right.
So they like in Godzilla versus Kong, which they kind of did in the previous movies because they had like Godzilla acknowledge the kid and like, but they really doubled down on humanizing Godzilla and making him more like almost like a superhero, like a Marvel character.
Right, like an anti-villain.
Yeah, where he like, oh my God.
He's having his redemption arc right now.
Yeah, and so like, well, the thing is that it's the facial expressions. So like, there's one specifically in Godzilla versus Kong where he like smirks, and I'm like,
cringe, cringe.
Like,
cringe.
It's so terrible. And now in this like, and now they chose. Okay, I have a lot of feelings about Monsterverse, but I'll be really concise about it. Basically, Godzilla vs. Kong was the worst thing to happen to Monsterverse because King of the Monsters set up something really cool, and then they essentially retconned it with Godzilla vs. Kong because they're continuing the Godzilla and Kong plotline and just completely forgetting about the King of the Monsters plotline. And with Godzilla and Kong, the new movie, it's like, one, there's nothing to scale, and so like they look really silly with their like, there's like a running scene they show in the trailer,
bad.
And like they're running like people. They run like people, like not like giant monsters. And it's just like
goofy.
Yeah, you know what else was goofy that also started with Godzilla vs. Kong, which really solidified the Marvel movie of it, is there's a scene where they're on the battleship and Godzilla destroys the battleship and Kong jumps off in slow motion with the explosion in the background. And like that scene is what the entirety of Godzilla and Kong the New Empire is going to be.
That's what it looks like. Them running away from explosions.
Yes, and I am not for it. I'm going to watch it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, we're going to watch it.
But like, especially after seeing Godzilla Minus One, like, I have such little interest in it.
Yeah. So, my closing thoughts. Godzilla, as a creation, as a monster, he symbolizes war. He was made from war, right? From a wartime period. He was created as a result of wartime. And that is what he is. You know, I know that the American perspective, they don't show that at all.
Yeah.
Not really, because there is a difference between just being a monster and then being a product of war. Of course, first of all, the fact that Godzilla wouldn't have existed without radiation, without some sort of atomic interference. This is going back to like more like Japanese. I don't know how they I don't know what lore they used to make Godzilla a thing in the American ones. Is it still like atom based or atomic based?
Oh shoot, I don't remember. I don't think they explain it. I don't think they explain it in the first movie, but I will say that in King of the Monsters, there's a scene where Godzilla has lost to King Ghidorah, I believe, and then he's sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And specifically, a Japanese man goes down there with an atom bomb I think it's an atom bomb, to blow him up to recharge him.
I do remember that. And that's really dumb.
Yeah.
The Americans have butchered Godzilla. They really have. Okay, back to what I was saying, though. I think that Godzilla Minus One does a really good job of keeping Godzilla a pure symbol of war. Because everything that our man Koichi goes through, he blames Godzilla for. And Godzilla is war. The war really ruined his life. It ruined how he thought, with the whole, I guess every country has this propaganda of dying for your country.
Yeah.
But the way that he was supposed to die had no hope,
Yeah, and they mentioned this slightly as an offhand remark in the movie, in that Koichi already knew that they lost the war. He already knew he lost the war. They knew that the war was over, but he still had this mission.
Right.
And so, like, one of the characters is like, "I don't blame you."
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you were, it was a lost cause.
Like your life you dying wouldn't have changed the outcome. Of course, that's not what the people think.
Yeah.
But that is also part of wartime, coming home and being the villain. And I think that another interesting thing that I noticed, especially when we watch the original one, we talk about how in the original one, Godzilla dies at the end. Like, 100%, no coming back from it. Godzilla is dead.
Yeah, when Godzilla was originally made, there was no plans for a sequel.
Yes,
They did have one. They had many, but there was no plans at that moment.
And how I read that is that, and even though this zoologist does say that there are more atom bombs in the world, I see that as kind of a hope that, the war is over.
Yeah.
On hope that the war can be over and that we can have peace, even though we had sacrifice. In many modern retellings of Godzilla, including Godzilla Minus One, including Shin Godzilla, Godzilla, quote unquote, dies at the end, but then we get this little after credit. But is he? And I guess it's easy for people to see that as some sort of like cash grab, like maybe they'll make another one. But honestly, because I don't think Shin Godzilla needs a sequel. I don't think Godzilla Minus One needs a sequel, right? But to me, it symbolizes that right now, where we are, we don't see an end to war. War is something that pauses and can build up and happen again. And that our peacetime is going to be short. So, which of course is absolutely butchered by America, which is another, which I really dislike. I really dislike American Godzilla because of
Now that you've watched Minus One and the original.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even without watching them, I knew what they were.
Oh, yeah.
I knew what Godzilla was, like what he was meant to be. And he's not meant to be running away from explosions with King Kong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Which I will say, there are plenty of goofy Godzilla movies.
Right, yeah. I'm just being a stickler.
Yeah.
I
mean, like, no, I get it though, because there's a whole argument right now.
Mm-hmm. I thought of one more thing I wanted to mention. I'm sorry. But in regards to, once again, this whole American versus Japanese Godzilla debate that we're having, that is totally one-sided.
Yeah.
In Japan, Godzilla is horror.
Yes.
Godzilla is scary. He's terrifying. He destroys town. He kills people. He has wanton destruction with no thought. In America, he's cool.
Yes.
Which is part of the superheroification of Western media. Seeing buildings destroyed, seeing towns leveled, and people probably dying is entertainment. We think it's fun.
Yeah.
So I also just want to say that watching Minus One, you get the feeling of dread every single time Godzilla is on the screen.
Yeah.
You have the fear.
Godzilla is genuinely scary in
Yes.
Godzilla Minus One.
Yes.
I felt this way similarly whenever Shin Godzilla did the atomic breath for the first time.
Yes.
Same thing.
Like just the way that everything can be destroyed so quickly is terrifying. And it is seen as terrifying.
And you know what it is that there's barely any war on American soil.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
New York has never been firebombed.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Be
Wait
careful.
a second.
Be careful. You picked the wrong city.
That's right. I did pick the wrong city. Within the last...
We get the idea, though. There's never been... I mean, it's not the same. We'll just say that it isn't the same. So... but that's my feelings about Godzilla, and all of this is to say that Godzilla Minus One is still a wonderful movie.
Yes,
a wonderful movie. Would watch it again personally. Maybe we should cop the Blu-ray. I don't know.
If it comes out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I had to say.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, then, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Konich-Yeehaw podcast. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Jared.
And thank you guys so much for listening. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.